Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, going to go over an article titled, How to Be the Ultimate Male Feminist. Let your wife talk you into an open marriage. And guys, this is no joke, no exaggeration, this is exactly the title of this article. This article is written about a guy who openly admits that his wife talked him into an open marriage, and not just that pretty much by doing so, he would truly be, what in his mind is a good thing, be a 100% whole male feminist. Therefore, supporting women and blah, blah, blah. To essentially let his wife go out and have as much you-know-what with guys as much as possible. Because, God forbid, if she was 100% committed and true to him, that would be the ultimate sign of things like the patriarchy and blah, 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 all those stupid-ass buzzwords. Ridiculous. And this whole thing, when I read this was sent by a subscriber, this just makes me want to barf. But this is an example to show you just how bad some guys have been feminized. How so many guys have actually... It's one thing, it's bad enough to have the gals drink the Kool-Aid, if you will, of the feminist movement. And many nowadays are doing keg stands, drinking that much Kool-Aid of the feminist movement. But it's a whole other bad thing when it's guys, okay? And this is a perfect example of that. And there are a lot of guys out there that have bought into this whole song and dance. And a lot of them do it thinking that, well, if I buy into this and go on by this whole mentality, then you know what, then they'll like me more. Right? And they ultimately suffer. But this guy deserves what he gets. And you're going to see here. But just when I go through this guy, I guess the main reason I'm doing this, guys, is just to show you that there are a lot of guys out there that buy into this crap. And so no guy should on multiple fronts. And I made it abundantly clear with so many stories and videos I've done that open marriages are a recipe for disaster. The second she wants to open marriage, it is over. But in this rare instance, I'm going to actually say that in a way, given this guy's mindset here, I actually don't blame her. Because this guy is such a feminized whip bitch that, she obviously needs a real man to give her some loving, because she ain't getting it from this guy, because this guy ain't no real man. Right here. And so, one of two things is going on when I read this story, guys. Either A, he's straight, but he's been so feminized that he just doesn't know which end is up and is that bad. Or B, let's just say he bats for the other team, but he married her anyway, and so he obviously doesn't care, and she knows he obviously bats for the other team, and so she needs the fulfillment from a real man, a masculine, hetero man. I don't know. I don't care if he bats for the other team. I got no problem with that. I do got a problem if he's faking it in a marriage and, why, at the end of the day, just end it and go be happy and go pursue what you're attracted to. But that does happen in life. But anyhow, guys, I'm going to go through this here. You're going to see more I'm talking about here. And essentially, this is what you don't want to happen to any guys in our society. But sadly, it has happened to many. Starts off here. It says, as I write this, my children are asleep in their room, Loretta Lynn is on the stereo, and my wife is out on a date with a man named Paolo. Loretta Lynn is on the stereo, dude. Ha, Paolo. Love that name. Paolo, the Portuguese horn dog. And no, the above isn't a text to a suicide hotline. It's a manifesto by a writer from a New York magazine named Michael Sonmore, titled, What Open Marriage Taught Me About Feminism. The idea is that closed marriage, monogamy, fidelity, and all the vow stuff is actually a form of patriarchy. And of course, those of that movement say patriarchy obviously is an evil thing. So, therefore, actually a married couple being true to each other, not hooking up with other people, in their view, has been twisted to be a bad thing. I've told you guys many times in different videos that we are truly living in Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0. Right here. I mean, this is like the book 1984 when they had the different, the Ministry of Truth, the Ministry of Love, where actually all these different ministries, departments of the government were the exact opposite of what they said here. Where now monogamy, fidelity, being true to one another is a bad thing. You see how warped things are? You see how warped and screwed up the feminist movement has had a cause on our society here? And this dumb motherfuckers believe in this? It goes on, so a guy whose wife is out getting her steak broiled with some Latin sizzle while he stays home and babysits the kid isn't a cuckold. Please don't use that outdated misogynistic word. Yes, he's the ultimate in sensitive, caring, and ideologically advanced spouses. So, in his mind, and I can't believe I'm reading this shit, but in his mind, by him allowing her to go out and get sausage from Paolo the Portuguese horn dog, that's the ultimate in sensitive and love and care, because he loves her so much that he's going to let her get plowed away at night. You got to be kidding me. She is obviously has hypnotized this dude into believing this is okay, or he actually believes it he truly believes it. He continues, before my wife started sleeping with other men, I certainly considered myself an effeminist. Really? I never would have thought that, dude. But I really only understand it in the abstract. When I quit working to stay at home with the kids, anybody surprised there? Quit working to stay at home with the kids. How many stories have you guys heard me do where the guy, he becomes Mr. Mom, and she's at work bringing him the bacon, and very quickly she starts to lose attraction and interest and respect, I might add, not necessarily in that order, for him. And it's only a matter of time before there's turmoil and there's conflict, and eventually there's either cheating and breaking up, or breaking up and finding somebody else, because she is then more in the masculine role and he's in the traditional feminine role. He also is fighting with her because she's acting more like a dude. She's fighting with him because she's losing attraction for him because he's in the feminine role, even though society says, oh, well, he can be a stay-at-home dad and raise the kids and take care of the house, and I'll be a Mr. Mom, and she can take care of the bills and bring home the money and all that, and everything will be okay. Well, it doesn't work that way, okay? Yeah, they can obviously both do those things, but there's going to be problems in the dynamics of their relationship. So it's no surprise that this is what we got here. See, this led into it. He becomes a stay-at-home dad, going in the more feminine role. She takes on the masculine role. And next thing you know, in time, now she wants to have an open relationship. What'd I tell you? He says, when I quit working to stay home with the kids, I began to understand it on a whole new level. I am an economically dependent house husband coping with the withering drudgery of child rearing. No man should be economically dependent on anyone, especially their girl. Because the woman wants the guy she can look up to. That he's the provider. He's the one who takes care of things. Because if he doesn't, the only way it's okay is if she is a masculine woman. Or she's an effeminist. A true hardcore effeminist. And simply is with a guy just so she could probably have kids because she didn't want to adopt or do that part on her own. They don't want that type of guy. It turns them off. So any wonder that she wants to have the open marriage, because she needs a masculine presence in her life, and she sure as hell isn't getting it from this dude at home. Now that I understand the reality of that situation, I don't blame women for demanding more for themselves than the life of a housewife. Well, I got no problem if a gal actually wants to have a career with the guy has a career and she has a career, but she's got to take care of things at home as well, and she's got to take care of things with the kids as well. And it's also not a good idea that she's making more money than her guy, because I've seen too many situations where things have gotten completely out of whack the second she starts making money with him. If she has her own career, okay, hey, it makes it easy for him bringing some money, but she can't neglect on the household duties and tasks with the kids and all that, because at the end of the day, the women just simply do it better. So, hey, let them do that part of the thing. And the guys hate doing household duties anyway. He says monogamy meant I controlled her sexual expression. And, not to get all the women's studies major about it, patriarchal oppression essentially boils down to a man's fear that a woman with sexual agency is a woman he can't control. Dude, if you get married, it should just be you two. There shouldn't be any sausage coming in. There shouldn't be other things going on outside the marriage. If she, or the guy, for that matter, needs additional fun on the side, what the hell do they get married for? They might as well just be casually dating. But he's been so brainwashed by this horse crap, and that's what it is. He's buying into this. And also, no doubt, she obviously was a master of manipulating him to think this. This guy is obviously an extremely weak guy. And there's a lot of times, guys, when I do stories and articles and all that, by and large, whenever a guy's in a bad situation and this guy's in a bad situation, I'll feel bad for him. But occasionally there's situations where I don't. And I just want to say, you know what? You're getting exactly what you deserve. You're that much of a fool. You need to have the shit slapped out of you. This is one instance. I don't feel bad for this guy at all. And this guy, Mark, guaranteed, would hate guys like me. He would loathe guys like me. So let's see if I get an email from him one of these days. We aren't afraid of their intellect or their spirit or the ability to bear children. We are afraid that when it comes down to time for sex, they won't choose us. This petty fear has led to us a culture to place judgments on the entire spectrum of female S-word expression. Well, if you say that we're worried that they're not going to choose us, well, they're obviously not choosing you, dude, because you're about as feminist as it gets. There's no masculinity in what I've read about this guy at all. Is any wonder she wants to get some dickin' someplace else. He says, if a woman likes sex, she's a WHORE and a SLUT. If she only likes that with her husband or boyfriend, she's boring and lame. If she doesn't like sex at all, she's frigid and unfeeling. Every option is a trap. What do you mean? If she only likes that with her husband or boyfriend, she's boring and lame. No, that means she actually has some standards, that she actually has some integrity, that she... Come on here. Unless that's what the movement, the feminist movement, says is boring and lame or something like that. Or the Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0 world that we're in says that she's only with her husband or boyfriend and doesn't go with other guys, and then she's boring and lame. That's the Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0 world we're living in right now. And last time I checked, what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah? Okay. Didn't work out very well. And how things are right now isn't working out very well. Need I mention the high divorce rate in this country and around the world? How more and more people simply aren't getting married at all, and you can't blame them given how things are. But, see? It says, Feminism always comes back to sex, even when we're talking about everything else. The point isn't that all women should be sexual adventurers. Celibacy is as valid as an expression of sexuality as the other thing. The point is that it should be women who choose, not men. Even the men they're married to. You are out of your freaking mind. You've been brainwashed. I mean, well, you're a moron, but you've also been brainwashed. Have some self-respect, bro. Where are your balls? You're letting your wife get freaking saucings up. By the time this guy comes to his senses, his wife's probably going to see more pipe than your average Saudi Arabian oil sheik. Come on, dude. This is bullshit. He says, for my wife, the choice between honoring our vows and fulfilling her desires was a false choice, another trap. She knew how deep our love was and knew that her wanting a variety of S-word experiences as we traveled through life together would not diminish or disrupt that love. This guy is so brainwashed. What are you talking about? It took me about 6 months, many long, intense conversations, and an ocean of red wine before I knew it too. An ocean of red wine? Probably while you're listening to that music from the beginning of this article. Self-respect, man. This is bullshit. First you got you to be the stay-at-home dad, and then that became more feminized there, and now you bought into this? But there's no way this guy was 100% not like this beforehand. He obviously was like this before, but she probably wanted to find a nice guy that she could settle with, but then really saw this guy has not a masculine bone in his body here. No masculine man would ever agree to something like this. And notice he's not mentioning anything about him. He's not out hooking up with girls. Imagine that. She's just out having a good old time, and that's that. And he's at home listening to his music and drinking his red wine. Well, my wife told me she wanted to open up our marriage and take other lovers. She wasn't rejecting me. She was embracing herself. When I understood that, I finally became an feminist. Oh, good for you. That's made you so happy and your life's so good. You're not fooling anybody, man. I think this is like a cry for help. I think if this guy was like speaking on a show about this, probably he'd be blinking in Morse code, begging for help to set him free or something. Of course, it's not all paradise and no trouble in the very open Son-Moore marriage. Oh, it's not all sunshine and roses. Imagine that. Recently, my wife went on a date and fell asleep at his apartment. I hadn't heard from her since 10 p.m. She still wasn't home at 6 a.m. My texts went unanswered and my calls went to voicemail. That's because she was getting plowed in every single room of that guy's apartment. That's what was going on. A tight knot of dread lodged in my stomach as I imagined all kinds of dire scenarios and realized that I not only didn't know where she was, I had no idea whom she was with. I pictured myself going to the police station saying, I think she's in Red Hook with a guy named Ryan. I didn't know his last name, but I think he's a graphic designer. Yeah, go make the police report. I'm sure the cops would laugh their asses off at you. Oh, sure, officers. My wife and I have an open marriage, and quite regularly she goes out and gets some dicking by different guys, but she hasn't called or texted. I don't know what to do. And they're probably like, dude, what do you think's going on? She'll stumble in with her high heels in her hand and her hair all messed up, probably about just in time for lunch. I'm not sure there's an actual word for the unique blend of acute terror and unforgivable shame that I felt that morning. Imagine I lost my wife to Ryan, the maybe graphic designer. When she finally texted me at 7:30 a.m., relief coursed through me like morphine. She wrote, FFF, I'm speaking code here, FFF, I'm so sorry. I fell asleep. Yeah, really, you fell asleep. Dude, you're going to lose your wife. And yeah, quite frankly, you deserve to lose her. I mean, well, in a way, it would be a blessing because he shouldn't be married to her. This guy shouldn't be with women at all, quite frankly. I definitely think something's up here. He says, fell asleep. Now, Sonmore strikes me as the kind of guy to whom I could sell that bridge I've got in Brooklyn. First, his wife talks him into being the passive stay-at-home dad while she goes out and wins the bread and gets to call the shots. Then she pulls out the big piece of effiness wool. I need to embrace myself. Isn't there a Roman comedy about a situation like this? Sonmore hastens to assure us that he too has been carte blanche in the extramarital sex department. I just don't use mine as much as my wife uses hers. I bet not. Would you want to have you-know-what with a twerp who gives you some twaddle about feminism when his wife is out under the limbo stick with Paolo? Furthermore, and here's a hint, Mr. Sonmore, most women actually like small children, and they don't cotton up to men who whine that raising them is withering drudgery. As Glenn Reynolds puts it, Paolo is not an effeminist. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys were confused by that last paragraph there. It confused me a bit. But the point is here in his rambling, this rambling here, this is the worst. This goes to show you how warped, unfortunately, some guys have gone. How some guys have actually been brainwashed this badly because of the movement, the bowel movement. So guys, don't let yourself become like this. And if you're watching this, I'm sure you're not. But this type of guy would hate guys like me. Because I would call it as it is. I'd tell him where he's screwing up. But it's only a matter of time. She's going to end it with him. And she'll be doing him a favor. But you see where this started. Well, things started a long time ago. But definitely started with the, I'll work and you go home and be the Mr. Mom. And then things just descended into the open marriage, and here we go. And her being out all night, and him not knowing where she is, and freaking out about it, and blah, blah, blah. And no, she didn't just fall asleep. Oh, she was awake all night, doing all sorts of things to Ryan, the graphic designer, and the week before, Paolo, the Portuguese guy, and probably next week it'll be somebody else. Welcome to Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0. So, don't let this happen to you, or anybody else you know. But guys, I thought it'd be a good one to go over. Again, I want to barf when I heard this, but this is how warped things are in today's society. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. I'm sure you certainly will in the comment section. Let me know. And guys, also, if you come across a great article you'd like me to share, or you would like me to share your own personal story, email it to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com, and I'll definitely cover it in the future. And before I forget, guys, if you happen to be on Instagram and like to follow me, click on the link below and start following me on Instagram, Strong Successful Male. It'll be very hard to find me. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.